everybody, welcome to Burnt Offerings for today. So today we're taking a poor man's brisket approach to the cook today. We're going to do it with a couple of beautiful Angus chuck roast that I picked up from Meijer. And we're going to treat these like a brisket. So it's going to be long, it's going to be slow, and it's going to be patient. And we're going to see just how tender and flavorful we can make them today. So these are thick chuck roasts, and they got good marbling all the way through the entire pieces of meat. And so we're going to be hitting them with Fire and Smoke Society's black and tan seasoning. And the reason why we're using this is because it's simple, it's bold, and it's beef forward. And so I want the flavor of the meat and the smoke to be the stars of this cook today. Okay, so we'll season all sides, right? And we're gonna do it generously, and then we're gonna get those edges too, and then we're gonna let that salt start to work its way into the meat while it's on the grill, and the pit starts to heat up and comes up the temperature. And so we're gonna run everything today on our Recteq Flagship 1600. We're gonna do it at 250 degrees, and I've got royal oak charcoal pellets in the hopper that can hold 40 pounds, and we're backing that about 20 pounds of royal oak charcoal with royal oak charcoal hickory blend. And so these pellets are going to layer in that deeper smoke profile. And so on top of all of that, I'm going to be loading up about 4 of my Recteq smoke tubes with my Western brand wood chips with some Pit Boss competition blend pellets as well. And I'll light that up using my little creme brulee flame torch. And so we're going to stack that smoke flavor up, and it's really going to mimic that traditional charcoal offset vibe. And so for temperature control, I'm going to be using my ThermoWorks RFX Wi-Fi thermometers with the hub, and so this way I can track both of them on the grill and the internal temperatures from even inside of our house and still have that smokehouse type of feel, but in the warmth of my house. So because of these chuck roasts, they're hitting about that probe tender feel, we're trying not to rush the clock, okay? And so another thing, I want you to think about this. Here on Burnt Offerings, we're always tying in what's happening in the pit and what's going on inside of our souls and inside of our lives. So I want you to think about this. Chuck roast is kind of that underdog type of beef, right? Okay, it's not the glamorous brisket that we all know and love. It's not the prime rib that only bougie people eat. It is this tougher cut, and it looks ordinary on the surface, but if you give it time, and you give it steady heat and the right care, it turns into something that is incredibly tasty, incredibly tender, and worth celebrating, right? And it reminds me of how God works with us, okay? In Romans 12:1, what does it say? Paul says, offer your bodies as a living sacrifice. And why? Because it's holy and it's pleasing to God, and this is what? Our true and our proper worship. So when we come to God, we come to Him a bit like this chuck roast is, like it's rough and it's around the edges and it's unimpressive, and it's, especially by the world standards, it's not impressive at all. But in God's hands, what happens? Through the slow work of grace and the steady heat of everyday faithfulness and the Holy Spirit of God, God transforms us, right? And so this cook is a reminder. God does some of His best work, He does it slowly. Not in a hurry, but He's always at work in our lives. He's tenderizing the hard places inside of us, and He's building character inside of us, and He's turning what looks like this ordinary into something that is extraordinary and reflects His glory. So as we get into these chuck roasts, okay, on the Recteq, right, and we settle in for a long, low and slow cook, I want you to think about the areas in your life right now where God might be asking you to be a little bit more patient, to stay on the grate, right, and let Him cook, let Him do that deep, slow work inside of us. So let's get these on the pit, and let's see what God and a little bit of smoke can do over some time. So we're going to start off with our chuck roast, just putting a little bit of grapeseed oil on these real quick, and then we'll just rub these in
And like I said, we'll get all of it just to make sure that we're just making sure we got all of it here. And so grapeseed oil is great because it's just like avocado oil. It's a little bit more cost effective, but it also does a great job just letting the seasoning stick to it here as well. And so remember, we're doing 2. And so we're going to be using the black and tan seasoning from Fire and Smoke Society, which is a great seasoning. Just a great, just a black pepper and black salt. That's all it is. And so we're just going to start seasoning that real well. Gonna give it a great meat smoky flavor. I use this on everything. You can use it on steak. I did do it on a full brisket one time, but you know, I can get expensive when you got a 15-pound brisket over here, but does a really good job. We really enjoy it. Just make sure you get it really generously on there as well. So I'm using the foil pan because I'm gonna put the foil pan with some beef broth under it during the cook as well. So might as well save on what we're gonna be messing up, right? As far as like having to clean dishes and stuff. So try to get it all in there. Try to get all the sides there as well. And then we'll actually, we'll put the meat on the stuff that's fallen off to get the rest of the seasoning there. So now that we got it onto our Flagship 1600, we put the foil pan underneath. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add beef broth to this. Now we'll use about half a box just to get it going and to catch the drippings. Then during the wrapping phase with the foil pan wrap method, we'll fill it up further. But that's just to catch everything. Kind of keeps it neater in the pan as well. All right, so we're also going to take our ThermoWorks thermometers and we'll put one in each of the chuck roasts here. And make sure we get them nice and deep enough in there. One is going to be tagged with one color, the other one with another, so I can watch it on the app. And so we're ready to go with this as well. So here's what we're going to do. All right, we're going to crank up our Recteq. All right, we set the Recteq for 250, and we're going to let all that smoke start to cook in. I wanted to show you guys the hopper, how cool it is. 40 pounds of pellets can fit in there. So that's the charcoal and the charcoal hickory blend. Another important just reminder, make sure you open up your windows. So we went with this easy up canopy tent instead of the mesh cube because we can control the flow and the just the ventilation that we get. So we're gonna get these smoke tubes going while we're waiting. So these take a little bit, so you wanna get going ahead of time. So you gotta give it like a bunch of time per smoke tube here to get them going. These are Recteq smoke tubes that I got. I like them a lot. I'm still learning how to use smoke tubes because I'm trying to get that charcoal smoke like I had with the Masterbuilt. I think we can make it happen, but the idea is you want to get these smoke tubes going and staying lit. That's the thing, because you're going to stick them in the smoker, and you want them to last for most of the smoke. And so you see how some of the flames go and some of them aren't. They said 5 minutes for some of them, but I think you got to start on top and get them going. I think you're supposed to hit them a little bit on the sides here as well, just for an added safe measure. All right, let's put them on the smoker. Let's see how long this goes. Let's see how this works. Alright, see you in a few hours. So we've been through a little bit. We had the auger stop working with the igniter not launching because of just the cold weather, so we had to loosen the other two screws, but got back going again. And so it's about 3:30 in the morning now, though. But let's look to see where we're at. We also did 2 more smoke tubes. Oh yeah, look at those. Beautiful. Look at these. Oh my goodness. All right, so we're gonna get them out real quick and put them in the beef broth. We got them in the foil pan. So now we're just gonna add some beef broth to the little bit of tallow and broth that was in there that we put the pan under the meat for some moisture. So this will cool down the meat a bit since we got this beef broth from the fridge, but it'll give it a little more time to cook. But yeah, wrapping it and putting beef broth is the best way. I mean, a lot of guys, they'll wrap it with the butcher paper and stuff, and that's fine. But I've just been more of been using this method from the very beginning with my briskets, and so I don't think I'll ever change from this. So we'll just wrap it up here, and we'll just continue to move forward. You want to get it tight, starting in the back, going around the sides, and just kind of crimping it as you do. You want it to be as tight as you would have done the butcher paper. But this method really, to me, is the best way to go. And we're still going to indirect heat it, but now from the second shelf wrapped. Well, the internal temperature just reached 201, and so I think we're done. So, notice we did put the thermometer probes in the top and sent out through the foil to make sure that it could hit okay. So we're going to take it out, and we're going to we'll put one on the cutting board, and we'll cut into it to see how we did. All right, so let's cut into this chuck roast. We'll just go right down the middle here. Oh, look at that. That is a great smoke ring. Look at this. Oh man, wow. Well, that came out really good. I'm excited about how that came out. All right, let's go wrap up the episode.
All right, well, welcome back to Bird Offerings. Our poor man's brisket cook came out great. The chuck roasts are finally done, and they were worth every single minute. So we've got a beautiful bark. We got a nice smoke ring, and these slices were tender, they were juicy, and they were packed with beefy flavor from the Angus chuck. The black and tan seasoning, remember, from Fire and Smoke Society, and all that charcoal hickory smoke. So this is exactly what I hoped for when I treat a chuck roast like a brisket. And so you can see how it bends without breaking, and it did well. It holds together pretty good, but it also pulled apart with just a little bit of a tug. So that's that probe tender around 200 plus degrees sweet spot that you wanted to see when we were chasing this down. So hey, it's been a long day. It's about 6 in the morning right now, but the results are absolutely money. So now it wouldn't be our burnt offerings episode without just a few offerings that I want to give along the way, like we did at the beginning of the episode. So this cook fought me a bit. Okay, it took forever to get those smoke tubes going the way that I wanted them to go, and then I ran into both an auger failure issue and then an ignition failure issue on the Flagship 1600, and that's on me though. That's my bad, because I learned the hard way that I should have just loosened all 4 screws on the auger plate during the last clean out and cook when the auger wasn't moving because it got cold, instead of just the 2 when it started moving again. So that little shortcut turned into a big headache for me today that I didn't see right away. But even with all that drama, okay, restarting it and troubleshooting and babying the smoke tubes, once we got everything going, right? We got everything dialed back to about 250 degrees, and the Recteq settled down, and it did the thing that it's supposed to do. The chuck roast didn't care about my plans. They just needed time. They needed steady heat, and they needed patience. So this cook was a reminder that real life feels a lot more like this pit session than a perfect recipe card, okay? Things that should be simple end up taking longer. And the tools that we trust in and sometimes fail, our shortcuts come back to bite us as well. And so, and yet, if we stay with it, if we keep adjusting and we don't walk away, good things can still come out of a messy process. And so it makes me think of James chapter 1 verses 2-4, where it says, James writes, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters. And this is what he says: whenever you face trials of many different kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. So let perseverance have her work, and so that you may do what? So you can become mature, and you also can become complete, and that you have nothing lacking in your life. So today, the trials of many kinds, it looked like a stuck auger, it looked like some stubborn smoke tubes, and a cook that took way longer than I wanted it to take. And so in real life, it's disappointment. It's delays, it's things breaking, it's plans changing. But in James, he says if we let perseverance finish its work, God uses those things, those frustrating moments, to make us mature and to make us complete. So these chuck roasts didn't get tender in a straight line, right? It took heat, it took time, it took a lot of adjustments, and our faith grows the same way. God uses the breakdowns. God uses the do-overs. God uses the long waits to shape us into people who trust Him more deeply. So as we slice into this poor man's brisket, right, and we enjoy the end result, I want us to remember the fact that it took longer, the things went the wrong way. It doesn't ruin the story. It's part of the story. And in the same way, God isn't wasting the auger failures of our life or the ignition failures of our life. God is working. He's still working. God is still present, and God is still able to bring something good and something beautiful and something tasty out of a long, slow cook. So, hey, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for being here on Burnt Offerings. You have a great day. If this is encouraging to you, okay, or made you hungry, all right, please hit the like button. Please subscribe to our Facebook page and our Instagram page, and share it with somebody who needs both some barbecue and also someone who needs some hope. And so until next time, keep the faith, keep the smoke going, and keep your heart soft. And remember, God does some of His best work low and slow. Hey, see you next time.